All right, now before I get started, I just got a couple of questions. I need to ask the first one. Am I in a celebration or am I in a conference? Clap if you think we're in a conference.
We're in everything.
Leave the room. Clap if you think we're in a celebration. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I got two types of presentations I usually give. I got a real boring one. I got a real exciting one. Both contain the same content, but I'm going to let you decide. Clap if you want the boring one. Clap if you want the exciting one. By the way, clap if you don't care as long as it's good and it's short. No, you weren't supposed to clap on that one. All right, I'm going to share a lot of stuff with you, but I need to kind of test your mental dexterity if you allow me. Now, here's the exercise I want to give you. Now, here's what I want you to do. This will determine which presentation I give you. Listen carefully. Give me your right hand. Give me the okay sign. Now, here's what I want you to do. Go down to your middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, work that sucker all the way back up. Did anybody have a problem with that? If you did, leave the room. Left hand, same thing. All the way down to the pinky finger, work it all the way back up. Not a big deal, right? Full throttle. Here we go. Full test, right? Here we go. Right hand, give me the okay sign. Left hand, listen carefully. Instructions are very important. Put your thumb on your pinky finger. Listen carefully. Do not do anything until I count to 3. Now, at the count of 3, what I want, put your hands back up. At the count of 3, you guys are so literal, right? The count of 3, what I want you to do is go down with one and up with the other. Sir, I said wait till I count to 3. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, same thing again. One more time. Put them up. Okay, got it? At the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, go. Oh. Stop. Just stop. The visual is like disturbing. I see grown folk doing this. I can't do this. Right? Now, listen carefully. It was easy to do with one hand because you've always done that. Easy to do the left hand because you've always done that. But when I asked you to do something else like multitask, you couldn't do it. Now, studies have shown that if you practice this for 30 days, it becomes a? Yeah. Now, this comes with a warning. Little asterisk at the bottom. If you walk around the office practicing this like this, you'll never get a raise, okay? And if you practice out on the street, people will think you're special, right? And you don't want that. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to present a lot of information. And you're going to get the information, and it's going to feel like this, right? Kludgy, like, ah. But again, studies have shown that if you do this long enough, it becomes a habit, and that's what I want to share with you. You guys ready to go? Oh, man, here we go. Now, I need you to do 4 things. The first one is listen. Okay, great. You with me? Second one is participate. If I say raise your hand, raise your hand. Might be the only exercise you get today. Wonderful, you got it. Last one, take notes. If I say write it down, you're going to what? Write it down. Love you for it. And the last but not least, can we have some fun? Yes or no? See, I think it's possible to have fun and learn something. What do you think? Yes? Something the public school system should take into account. That's all I'm saying, right? This is important. Now, who's here? How many salespeople do we have here? Raise your hand. Be honest. Wow, my folk. How many managers do we have? A couple of managers. How many business owners? Love you guys. How many entrepreneurs? Da, 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 da. My favorite category, need you to be honest, admit this if this is you. How many know-it-alls do I have? Show your flags. Show your flags. Don't be bold. I got a couple of know-it-alls. But even if you knew it all, if I can teach you a couple of things that would help you increase your sales, would that be a good thing? Yes or no? Yes. Beautiful. That's it. The conditioning's done. Let's get going. Archimedes had an interesting principle. He said, give me a long enough lever, and a place to stand, and I can move the world. Wow. I heard that. I was like, wow, that's a great definition. How does that apply to us? Isn't this what we're always trying to do? When we're talking to a customer, the customer is what? Inert, doesn't want to move. What's our job? To what? Move them. But many of us have a very small what? Leverage, right? So our job is to grow that pole of influence so we can leverage people to what? Take action. Yes or no? You with me? Here's the definition of influence. The act of producing an effect without apparent exertion of force or direct command. I don't know about you, but I'm ADD. That's too hard for me to remember. Let's move on. Next one. How about this one? This is a little simpler. The ability to guide a person's behavior or make them comply passively. Oh, sounds too Machiavellian. Let's not go with that one. Don't like that one. My definition of influence. The ability to what? Nudge without pushing. Oh, if we can just what? nudge, because nobody wants to be forced into buying something. Would you agree with that? But what if we can find ways to nudge? Yes, here's what we're going to do. Let me give you some examples. Years ago, I started looking at the world of selling. And here's what I found. Most of the books that you'll find on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, are dedicated to how to sell. First category is strategy. How do you approach a business? How do you approach a market? How do you segment the market? Blah, 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 right? The second category is tactics, face-to-face, belly-to-belly. How do you actually sell it, right? How do you close the deal? The third part you see is psychology. Woo, you're the best, you're the greatest, you can sell anything you want, right? Motivation. But what I found out that 90%, 8% of all these books are dedicated to that. But has the market changed? Yes or no? Of course it has. The market has changed dramatically. And you've seen some of these books, right? I love these books, like Tom Hopkins, right? How to Master the Art of Selling. Wow, you read that, you're like, man, I think I've mastered the art of selling. Check it out, right? Then you say, well, let me read Spin Selling, right? How to ask the right questions, you know, dig for pain, right? So you read Spin, you're going good. Then you read Solution Selling. You're like, wow, now I know how to sell solutions. Well, then you read how to sell to big companies, because once in a while, you have to sell to a big company, right? But then you say, how winners sell. Wow, let me read that one. That's pretty cool. Got some great strategies. Ooh, I'm good. Oh, there it is. Motivation. Love you, Brian. Let's move on, right? My God. They created a sales Bible for selling. And then Jeffrey Gitomer, great book, comes up with another book right after that called The Little Red Book of Selling, the 12.5 Principles of Selling. That means that second book is officially what? The New Testament. Yes, he should have titled it that. He didn't. So then you read strategic selling. You said, all right, I'm going to be strategic. But then they come out with a new book called The New Strategic. They're like, oh, I guess I'll read that one too. Then they come up with conceptual selling. You're like, but then they come up with a new one. Then you say, well, okay, selling results. That's it. I think I've reached the peak, right? I'm selling. I got it. So you read that. Then my man, Zig Ziglar, love him, says, see you at the top, motivate yourself, keep going. You read that. Investigative selling, because it's all about asking the right questions, right? Questions that sell. Selling to the top. Oh, man. Sometimes we got to sell to the C-suite or very important top officers. Got to sell to the key people. So you read that and you're like, man, I think I got it. All right, good. So then you cold calling. Sorry, forgot that. Got to do it, right? Got that. Making a technical sale. Sometimes the sale is not that simple. It becomes a little technical. I got to read that. And then it says major account selling, big accounts, large accounts. Wow, big accounts. Let me read that book too. Wonderful. And then I read Hope is Not a Strategy. 6 keys to winning the complex sale. You're like, man, I think I got this down. Then you read this, how to master the complex sale. And at this point, your brain has to go pop. And then you read relationship selling. You know, it's all about the relationships we establish, right? Right? But then somebody else comes out with this book. You got to understand what you just read. If that makes any sense. And apparently, after you understand what you just read, apparently it has an edge to it. Didn't know that. Did not know that. Right? So now you got all these books in your head, and you're trying to what? You're trying to, well, how do I use this? Then you got this, for all the know-it-alls, right? Look at that. Oh, I didn't forget you know-it-alls. Right? So you read this, I think I got it. So look at that, the Challenger Sale, new books are coming out. Again, the mind of a customer, all these things are changing how selling is done. At this point, your head's got to go pop, right? But don't worry, that's why I'm here. Because I'm going to break it down for you. Yeah, just break it down for you. So I decided to title my book, Selling Ain't Hard. When you know how, right? That's all it is. Because selling ain't hard when you know how. And I'm going to give you some ideas, some models, and you're going to love them. Here we go. This changed everything. Would you agree? See, years ago, I was giving this example yesterday to somebody. So years ago, you walk on a car lot. Here's my friend right here. I was giving her this example, and here's how it was 10 years ago before the internet. You walk onto the car lot, and guess what? You had about 2 hours to really converse with the person about the car. Now, during that time, that person, that salesperson, told you what he knew about the car, established himself as an authority, and he gained your trust, right? 2 hours. You with me so far? Fast forward, internet time. When you need a car, what's the first thing you do? Internet. Then you start searching, right? On average, you will consult 10 sources, right? Then you'll ask friends, what'd you think of that car? Then you start narrowing down your choices. Then you look at the Blue Book value. Should I use new or what? Old, right? Whatever it may be, right? So you decide. Then you got attitude because you know what you want to pay, right? You go on CarMax, I know what I want to pay. Go Edmunds, Blue Book value, I know what I want to pay. Now, you walk onto the lot. And what do you have? Attitude. Oh, no. And you know what? I ain't got 2 hours to spend with you. I got 20 minutes. And in that 20 minutes, you as a salesperson have to find a way to what? Reposition that whole conversation. You are now selling within a compressed time frame, and that's why it's harder to sell. So again, most of the strategies you're using still, I see them all, were invented back in the 1920s. E.K. Strong wrote the first book, The Psychology of Selling Life Insurance, 1920. That was the first time anybody ever documented using scripts, open-ended question, closed-ended question. 1920. Have things changed since 1920? Yeah. I dare say yes, right? Would you agree with that? Today's client is more knowledgeable. Go ahead and read them. Less loyal. Ooh, and the last one, less what? Would you agree with that? Now, unless we can combat that, you're not going to sell. Now, I have a confession to make. I like money. I didn't say I love it. I said I liked it. Because I'm a capitalist. If you're a salesperson, you are the ultimate unitary, irreducible primary of a business unit. You are a capitalist. And that's what you should be. People always say, now listen carefully. People always say, Victor, that sounds so selfish. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Because apparently they don't understand there's a difference between selfish and self-interest. Let me break it down because this is important. If I do something or sell something that I know can harm, has an externality, can harm somebody else, or is no good for that person, I am being selfish. Now, if I am selling a product that I believe in, I know works and is good for you, and I want to make money, that is what? Self-interest. And there is nothing wrong. This country was founded on self-interest. So there's a big difference. When people say, are you a salesperson? I'm like, yeah. Some people are like, I don't know. You know, it's like you hide it. You don't want anybody to know. Okay? Be bold. Be a salesperson. Now, Pamela Danziger said this. This is interesting. Their consuming choices have exploded. They don't need to buy your widget anymore. What she's saying is they don't need to buy from you. I asked anybody in here, what's your unique selling proposition? You'll say, blah, 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 blah. Because that's what you say. Well, Victor, we got great customer service. We got the best price. We treat you like family. If you come to our place, 24-hour service. Nobody buys that. In the age, listen carefully, in the age of parity, quality parity, service parity, you have to find a differentiator. Today, you expect a car to last 50,000, 100,000 miles. You expect that. That's parity. So unless we can overcome that, find ways to differentiate ourselves, we will not be successful at selling. And then you blame the product. Well, the product's no good. Shut up. It's because you can't sell it. You can't position it. Somebody will buy. Victor, 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 but it's about price. Shut up. Studies have shown it's never about price. Let me tell you what salespeople are. Salespeople are in the risk mitigation business. Let me tell you about risk mitigation. Many of you, just raise your hand. How many times have you paid for something that's just a little more than you should have just because you trusted that person? There, right? It's that simple. Keep that in mind. Now, so then I started looking at the other side of the equation. Instead of looking at how to sell, I said, well, how do people buy? Because if I can understand how they buy, I can sell to them more effectively. So then I looked at, if I know what motivates a buyer, if I can find, let's say, moments during the conversation, during an interaction, if I can move you. Now, by the way, it applies to sales and your personal life. Doesn't matter. I'm going to show you some stuff that's very fascinating. If I can find moments, and then if I know how they make a buying decision, I can what? Move it. Remember the saying, it's easier to tailor a suit than to get somebody to lose weight. Am I right? Yeah. See, I don't want to change behavior. I'll tailor my presentation just for you. That's selling. All right. So let me give you some examples of what I mean by influence moments. Did you know when you walk into a store like Target or Walmart, they leave 10 feet of space? Because what they found out, studies have shown, consumers need 10 feet of space to orient themselves before deciding which way to go. And once they walk in, which way do they go? Right. Unless you're from across the pond, then you go left, right? But typically most people go right. Now, did you know consumers have a velocity? Did you know that when you walk down the aisle, you actually have a velocity? But here's what's more fascinating. If the aisle is narrow, you will walk faster. If the aisle is wider, you will mentally, unconsciously, subconsciously slow down. Don't believe me? Check it out next time. Go to Macy's, Nordstrom, big anchor store. What happens when you get to the perfume section, the shoe section, right? For the ladies especially, you want to go, whoo. Guys, we just get the corner. Here's your 5 choices, right? But for women, it opens up. Jewelry section, whoo, right? And that's why, because they know that you mentally slow down when things are wider. You don't have to believe me. You ever wake up in the morning and nobody's out driving and you're going somewhere? How do you drive? Slow. Most people, a couple people from Miami, apparently. So, fast, Victor, I never stop. I'm full throttle, Victor. Even in the morning, I'm full throttle, right? Sometimes it's okay to cruise, right? So listen, in the morning when you wake up, if nobody else is on the road, you actually drive slower. But when there's a lot of traffic, what happens? Oh, especially fellas. Oh, it's so important to make it in front of that one car because it's going to make all the difference in the world, right? Here's another interesting. How many folks shop at Walmart? Raise your hand. If you didn't raise your hand, liar, right? So when you go to Walmart, what you'll notice is that the aisles are very thin. And they know you're walking too fast. So how do they slow you down? How do they slow you down? Who can tell me? Was that? Yeah. You ever see the bins? Those are mental speed bumps. Because you're like, oh, sale. DVDs, wow, only $2 for 10? Wow, let me look at them. And that's all they're doing is slowing you down. You know what I'm talking about. Don't pretend, don't front, right? Did you know that when you walk into a store and somebody asks you, may I help you? Just by asking that simple question, sales rate go up 30%. That's why they asked the question. It's annoying, but there it is, right? Would you believe that you're an impulse buyer? Yes or no? They do. Where do they put the milk in the store? Okay, whoever said refrigerator, thank you for the obvious. Okay, leave the room. Yeah, in the refrigerator, but they put it in the what? Why? Because they want you to walk all the way to the back, because on the way back you might see some cookies, some donuts, something, because we're impulse buyers. Do you understand that you're being influenced from the moment you walk in that door? Let me ask you a question. Let me ask a simple question. You see 2 burgers. Now, typically, I'm not trying to trick you. Which burger would most people choose, on average? Okay, apparently some of you are still hungry from this morning. On average, most people will choose the smaller one. The majority of people will choose the smaller one. Now, what if I wanted you to buy that big burger? What if I give you the sales pitch? Look, twice is better. More bun, more meat, more lettuce. Would that convince you? Good sales pitch? No, because you're like, don't pitch me, right? So here's what you do. We don't want to push, we want to Oh, love nudging, right? So here's how they nudge you. It happens every day to you. You don't even know it. You don't even think about it. What they do is they offer you a 3rd burger. And what happens is, which one would you choose? Where do you think the biggest profit margins are? In the middle. And this is what you do. Don't believe me, here's what you do. That's too small. Oh, too big. Too much guilt over here. Let's go with the one in the middle, right? You go to Starbucks. One in the middle, right? Now, listen carefully, because what I'm about to do is make you money. Right here, right now, I'm going to guarantee you money. You ready? From this day forward, never, ever offer 2 options, because they'll always choose the cheapest one. So what you want to have is 3 options, because they'll choose the one in the middle. But Victor, wait. What if I only have 2 options? Shut up, make one up. But you know what's interesting about that? 5 to 10% will still buy the most expensive one. Listen carefully, 5 to 10% will always buy the Maserati burger, right? Keep that in mind. But in this day forward, how many options? 3. Wonderful. Now, let me ask you a question real simple, because I'm at the Full Throttle event. This should be obvious. Is that glass half empty or half full? Half empty, raise your hand. Half full, raise your hand. It depends, raise your hand. The answer is, it depends. But it depends what I show you first. Listen carefully. Study was done. Split the room in half. Check it out. So I come to this side and I show you a full glass of water. and then I'll empty out half of it in front of you. And then I'll ask you, is it half empty or half full? What do you think you'll say? Half empty. I'll come over to this room and say, give you an empty glass and fill it up halfway. You'll say it's what? What I show you first versus what I show you second can condition the person in how they buy. Think about this. How we present, how we sequence things in a presentation makes all the difference in the world. Here's what's wrong with the majority of salespeople today. They give you a slide deck, right? PowerPoint presentation, brochure, and they go present. And what do? You go present. And then when they don't buy, you go, but why didn't they buy? Because somewhere in that process, you showed them something either at the wrong time, wrong place, or you didn't even show them what they wanted. So unless we understand how to adapt the suit to the actual buyer, we're not going to be successful in selling. It is more of a science than it is an art, and people don't get this. It is more a science than it is an art, okay? Look at the numbers. Those are the percentages, the guess. So again, it's what I show you first versus what I show you second. This is powerful because, for example, I'm talking to a client or a potential client. Should I present the good news first or the bad news? Yell out your response. Okay? The answer is, it depends. If the buyer is motivated, looking to buy, likes your stuff, they've already read, they're interested, you give them the good news. Dump the good news on them, right? And at the end, boom, the bad news. Don't believe me. You ever see these Viagra commercials? Perfect example of influence. Don't get ahead of me. People who watch that commercial, don't make me laugh. People who watch that commercial are interested buyers. Right? Because if you're not interested, you're like, ha, don't need that. Right? Right? But you're like, but some who are interested, like, wait a minute. Okay, all right. Then you see the wife sitting on the steps, right? On the porch, rocking back and forth, all happy, knitting. And then the husband is throwing the football through the hanging tire. What a metaphor. Okay? That's how they get away with it, folks. Even at a... Some of you are still going. If you didn't get it, I just can't help you. But here... Now, let's take the reverse. You ever have this type of buyer? What? What do you want? Right? Well, that's when you drop the bad news. He's going to say something like, I heard your price is too expensive. What are you going to say? You're absolutely right. And there's a reason they're more expensive. In fact, we charge more on purpose because we know what we offer. Boom, stop. Stop right there. What is that guy on the other side of the table thinking? Did he just admit that? Did he just came up? Now what you've done is you've basically shocked him, basically shook the globe up, right? Because now he's like, okay, I didn't expect that. Well, that's being honest. Look, how do you like to be sold? Be direct, be honest, right? And when people are like that, you love that. But why is that we have a hard time doing that with other people? We always try to schmooze them. Don't schmooze. If you have a good product, I got a good product, and it's more expensive. There. Do you want to talk? I mean, you don't say it like that, but you know what I mean, right? All right. All right. Influence moments. If you know somebody who's a waiter or a waitress, pay attention. So they did this study. They wanted to find out if you can influence tip rates, right? Just influence. Not what? Not push. We want to what? So what they did is that, if somebody brings you a bill, they pay you, they bring you your bill, and they go, it's great serving you guys, thank you, please come again. On average, what tip would you give, sir? 15%. I think that's rational and reasonable, right? So 15%. So then, this time, what's your name? Dennis. So this time they come back, Dennis, and said, love your whole family, you guys were great. And then they add a mint. Just 1 mint. Do you think that would do anything to the tip rate? Yes or no? Yes. Oh yeah. Tip rates went up 3.3%. The rule of reciprocity kicks in, right? 3.3%. So the question then you must ask, Victor, that begs the question, if 1 mint worked, maybe 2. So what do you think they did? They put 2. Like what? And guess what? Tip rates went up 14.1%. Bam! 14.1% on the second mint. Which begs the question. Maybe I should use? You've gone too far. Okay? It didn't work. But here's what they found the power tool is. You want to jack that number up? Here's what you do. You come up and say, you guys are great, loved having you here. And you give them 1 mint apiece, right? Hope to see you guys again. Hand it to them. Then you pretend to walk away. Just pretend. And at the last minute, you turn around and go, because you guys are so great tonight, I think I'll give you an extra mint. Pow. Pow. 23%. I know what you're thinking. That would never work on me. Shut up. It does. It does. Now, listen carefully. Again, how do we apply it to real life? Love to have fun with you, but how do you apply this stuff to real life? Did you ever send somebody something unexpected? Because see, that's what's happening here. It was special, it was personal, but that key element, it was unexpected. Again, rule of reciprocity is there, but when something's unexpected, you ever have somebody send you like an article? You're like, oh, that was real nice, they thought of me. Or just send you anything, what are you thinking? Do you remember that person? So these are things that if you have customers you want to keep close, do something small, unexpected. And it isn't the size of the gift. It could be a $5 gift card just to go get some coffee. You get the idea? Use the strategy. Ellen Langer, Harvard psychologist, she did an interesting study. Let's say 5 people are lined up at the copier, and I run over and I say, excuse me, I have 5 pages, may I use the Xerox machine, right? What percentage would say yes? Yell it out. God, there's a lot of East Coast in the house. 10, 5, maybe. I was in Minnesota, they're like, oh, I think 80, yeah, for sure, you betcha. You know, they're a little nicer up there, probably. So Ellen Langer did this study, and believe it or not, 60% said, yeah, go ahead, step in line. Wow. Obviously not conducted on the East Coast, you know what I mean? But Ellen Langer wanted to say, can we boost that number up? Can we boost acquiescence up? So she said, well, let me just change it. Just say, because I'm in a rush, right? Oh, percentage goes up or down? Boom, you're so wrong, 94%. Whoa. So Ellen Langer said, well, maybe let's take out the I'm in a rush and put in a non-value statement, like so. Because I have to make copy. Duh, why else would you be there but to make copy? It has no value. Number goes up or down? Goes down by only 1%. Here's what they found out. Because is a trigger. When somebody says because, almost like a Pavlovian dog, ding, salivate, you do it. You don't even think about it. You ever want to get somebody to sign something? Just say, why don't you go ahead and fill out because. They don't hear anything after because. It's almost like bing, they'll do it. It's really interesting. One of the things I used to love doing in selling was, I used to take the thing after I talked to the customer, 5 things they liked, right? I said, before I get started with my presentation, here's what I'd like you to do. Go ahead and prioritize these because it'll allow me to tailor my presentation. Even when I got to because, they were already prioritizing for me. Now, when they prioritized those 5 for me, what did they just tell me? How to sell them, right? Oh, selling ain't hard when you know how. It's just simple things like that. Let them tell you how they want to be sold. Now, if you're a single man in this room, oh, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I got you. Say, Victor, are you saying what I think you're saying? Are you implying what I think you're implying? Are you telling me what I think you're telling me? Are you saying that if I just use the word because, I see a beautiful young lady and I say, would you like to come to my place? Because, and no matter what I say, she's going to say yes. What's the answer, fellas? Ladies, what's the answer? I love the way you do it. So indignant. No. You know, it's like, no. You were so right. Langer found out something interesting, that the request has to be reasonable. So, sorry, I don't make these studies up. She went from 5 pages to 20, and look how the numbers drop. My point to all this is influence is everywhere. Influence is everywhere. And all we have to do is harness the power of it to use it to our advantage. You with me so far? All right, I'm going to introduce the Killer Sales app. I know. I'm going down for that one. I will be called to judgment on that one. Yeah, you remember that slide you showed? Then it was Dr. Willie Jolly in the place. I'm like, okay, yeah, remember that one? No. All right, what I'm about to show you is a Killer Sales app. It is that if you use this application in selling, you'll be more effective at selling. Now, listen carefully. I don't usually share my killer app with just anybody. But I'm going to share it with you for one reason only. Listen carefully. Because I love you. I was going for the sympathy vote on that one. Yeah, here we go. All right. Are you motivated more by the fear of loss or desire of gain? Which one? Huh? Which one? You sure? All right, because here's the deal. If you agree that the fear of loss is a better motivator, then why isn't you've been selling the gain? Feature, benefit, advantage, gain. Feature, benefit, advantage, gain. Isn't that how you were taught? See, people need to feel the pain, leverage them in order to move. So how do you do that? Ernest Dichter. Most people have never heard of Ernest Dichter. He's the father of motivation research. When I say motivation research, I don't mean like woo-hoo research. How many watch these series Mad Men? Okay, Mad Men is actually based on a lot of Ernest Dichter's work back in the 50s and the 60s. Ernest Dichter says something interesting, that in order to motivate people, you must make them constructively discontent. And that's one of those statements you read, you go, what? Make them constructively discontent. Now, here's what he's saying. You just can't make them discontent because they'll just be mad, right? You want to make them constructively discontent so it leads back to your product. Let me give you an example. Okay, for my old schoolers, remember the record player back in the day? Remember that? You remember that? Record player is always spinning, and once in a while you pass by, you cop a scratch, chicka, yeah, right? You do that, right? Anybody do it? That was just me. Mom like, don't do that. Don't do that, right? So you were happy with your record player. You were super happy with your record player. You're like, man, I love my record player, right? 33, 45s and? Man, you guys are good. So you're listening to the record, you're happy with your record player. Then somebody invents the what? No, don't jump. Young people. CD. No, there was like evolution of man type of thing. There was evolution, okay? Okay, gotta keep that in mind. So now, the 8-track, remember that, wow, 8 songs, and I can put it in my car. I can take it with me, right? Now, what happened, you became constructively discontent with your record player, and you moved over to the what? And man, you were happy. My first 8-track was Earth, Wind, and Fire. Favorite cut? Serpentine Fire. There it is. By the way, I'm originally from Chicago. I was born in the Cabrini Green Housing Project, straight up hood, right? I've just cleaned it up a bit, you know? When I get back, I put, that goes back, you know? So that was my first record. So I'm happy with my 8-track, then what comes out? Now, you're like, wow, smaller, more songs, and I can fast forward. So now you became constructively discontent with you moved over to the cassette. You were happy with your cassette. Then what came out? Now would be the time. Thank you very much. The CD. You're like, wow, digital, I can and get to actually what? My song. So what happened? Did people move over, yes or no? Yes. No. Oh, don't get hostile just because I told you something you didn't expect. Listen carefully. There was a problem. You know, this goes back to the VHS beta thing. Some of you got it. Good. I just throw that out there just kind of. Now, what happened was you had your cassette, and you're like, square, got music, I'm cool. CD comes out, you're like, okay, round, it's got music. I'm not swapping out my system for this. And that's when the marketing people went to work on your brain. They said, how do we sell these people on that? We must make them constructively discontent with what they have. And so here's what happens. Now, they could have told you that the dB roll-off and the frequency curves on this specification CD is much better. But you would have said, brain function, shut down, right? You would have said, no. So what they went is they went straight for the primal brain, the amygdala, the alarm system, right? Something you'll understand like this. Here's what they said. They came up, love marketing people, they come up with stuff, right? They came up with a phrase called high fidelity. See, they came up with that. That didn't exist before the CD. High fidelity. And then they're so bold enough that they're going to define it for you. Okay, so what is high fidelity? You know, digital, blah, 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 blah. But here's how they actually put out the commercials. What is high fidelity? Here's what we like you to do. We'd like you to go back home and play your tape. And you'll notice that once you play it, in the background, you'll hear a... You won't hear that with a high fidelity CD. And you're like, what? I never heard a hiss. Shut up. So what do? You go back home. Check it out. What do you hear? You're like, oh, where did that come from? Right? You go try it in your car, like, oh, where did that come from? The thing is, it was always there. It was always there. See, the best salespeople know how to point things out. Because when you point something out to somebody, if you're losing money, I point it out. If I can show you how to make more money, I'll point that out because I want to make you as unhappy as I can with what you have. Look, salespeople are in the business of making people unhappy with what they have, so they'll buy from us. You with me so far? Beautiful. Now, all this stuff that we're talking about, imagine now incorporating this into a presentation when you're talking to a company. I'm telling you right now, I work with small companies, large companies, and I'm telling you, this stuff works if you integrate it into your presentation. We went to the CD. Where do we go next? How did they sell us on the MP3? How? Wow, 3,000 songs on something that small. 3,000, yeah, that's about the amount I need, right? Yes, you know, I went from my album 8-track and now I need 3,000 songs and maybe I'm not satisfied. Consumerism, you gotta love it. Now, they're telling us, don't put it on your what? iPod, put it on your phone. Right, so you moved over to the phone, got rid of your iPod, right? They integrated it. So now now they're saying, don't even put it on your phone, put it where? In the cloud. They're making you unhappy every single moment, and you're like, following. Don't believe me? Break out your iPhone or your Samsung right now, and I'm right? Because that's what's happening, and that's how they do it. Marketing people, Now, we have to make people unhappy. Here was an interesting study done. Tie it back to how you can use it. What they had was an energy company. An energy company would come to your house, and what they would do is they would just review your house, right? They review your house, and then they would come out and say, here's a list of things we found that's wrong with your house where you can improve energy efficiency. They give you a whole long list, and then they'll say something like, what do you think? And when they just did that, they only closed 15% of the deals. Listen carefully, only 15% of the deals. Then they just adjusted one thing. One thing. Here's what they did. Same thing. Review the house, come back, clipboard, show them everything. This time they tag this at the end. These are all the places we found inefficiencies. Then they said this. If you add up all these inefficiencies, that's the equivalent of having a hole the size of a basketball in your wall. And if you had a hole that big, Mr. Customer, do you think you might want to fix it? Bam! 61%. By simply using a visual to make them discontent. We've pointed something out. No, I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. Most people don't do this in their presentation. You do the product pitch, you do the standard product pitch, you talk about your product, you feature, benefit, advantage, value. Please buy from me. What do you think? I hear that all the time. If you say, what do you think at the end of a presentation, you stink. You literally stink. Because that's not something. What do you think? I had a boss back in the day, taught me early on never to use that phrase. His name was Joe Holosic. One time I come up to him, I said, Joe, so here he goes, what do you think? Without hesitating, he said this, thoughts mostly, how about you? I was only 23, but that day I learned, never ask people, what do you think? Because that's a horrible way to close business, because they're going to come up with every reason. Let me give you one more example. So I have a mailbox, UPS box, right? Sally is always there. 3 years, every year, February, I renew it, right? So about a year and a half ago, February, I go in there and I notice a small one. And I go, now, I'm thinking, maybe I should go from the big one to the small one. Because I want to save $60. That's about, 12 lattes to me at Starbucks. That counts, right? In a recession, it counts. Everything counts. So I start eyeballing that small box. And and Sally saw my look. I'm eyeballing the small box. I look like I'm going for the smaller one, right? Remember the hamburger? Smaller one? Sally sees it. And I can see in her face, it was like a Clint Eastwood movie, right in the back. Oh, it's like she's about to sling, right? She's about to come at me to convince me to stay with the big one, right? So I'm thinking, and then you know how you brace yourself for a sales pitch? You know that, right? And so what happened is I said, all right, here it comes. Mentally, this is what you're doing, and so I know what she's going to say. She's a saleswoman. Here's what she's going to say. She wants me to stay with the big one. She's going to say, Victor, bigger's better, easy access, more convenient. You don't have to pick up your mails often. Mailbox won't get jammed. You can put bigger packages in there. You get the idea, right? That's exactly what she did not say. Here's what she said. Victor, you can go with the smaller box. I get that. Let me ask you a couple of questions. At this point, I'm in the fetal position because I know where this is going, right? She goes, let me ask you a couple of questions. She goes, you know that if you change your mailbox, you'll have to change your address. Still, I am belligerent. So what? Mentally, I say to myself, of course, so what? I'll change my address. Well, if you change your address, you'll have to also change the information on your business cards. Yeah. And then you'll also have to change the information on your website. So if you don't edit your website, you probably have to hire somebody to do that, right? And then I said, you have to also, if you have promotion material, yeah. Well, you'll probably have to change all that information also. And last but not least, you'll probably have to contact your clients and let them know that your mailbox, your address has changed. Victor, let me ask you the final question. How much time and money would that cost you? Man, I plant it, look it dead in the eye. Shut up and renew it. Lesson learned, never give Sally a copy of your material. Never give Sally a copy of your material. Isn't that powerful? This is the way we need to start presenting. How do you sell the loss? Again, I'm having fun with this, folks, only because I want to accentuate, if not highlight, how powerful this is when you start using it consistently throughout a presentation. Imagine you're getting more discontent as I was going through all these line items as you're doing a presentation to a customer. That by the time you get to the end, it goes, okay, I need to make a change. This is really hurting my business, okay? Conclusion, we're more susceptible to influence than we care to admit. Yes or no? We are. The most influential people are actually the least obvious. Last but not least, rules of influence apply no matter what you're selling. As Del Toro nicely pointed out, we're always selling. Even if you don't have a job today, are you selling? You're selling who? The primary product, you. You sell product, you sell service. You sell, if you're a leader, you sell goals, ideas, a vision, right? Or as Del Toro does, sell the energy and the enthusiasm, right? And last but not least, you sell yourself. In the legitimate way, of course, right? But in other words, we're always selling. Now, I always get this question, Victor, what do you do? Right? So here's my answer. I train people to sell more faster. I like sales. I love the science of selling. I truly love the science of selling. I am in pure flow when I talk about sales. Because if you can sell, one, you'll always make money, and two, you'll always have a job. Shut up, Victor. Are you telling me I'll always have a job? Heck yes. Here's the deal. Let me ask you a question. For those of you in business, just write this number down. Write it down somewhere. What would one extra client be worth a week worth? What's that worth to you? If I get one client a week more, what's that worth to you? Put the dollar value down. Put the dollar value down. Got it? Now, let's be conservative. You only get one client a month extra. Take that number, if it's only one a month, multiply it by 12. Or take your 4, multiply that by 12 also. You get the idea? You have a number, yes or no? Yeah. Okay? Okay, hold that number. Background, here it is. Okay, engineering degree, MBA, long story how I went from engineering to sales. Okay, so it's a really short story. Money, good, okay? There's a longer story, I don't have time, but I was like motivated by that. Director of International Sales, VP of International Sales, that company was like $3 billion, Fortune 500 company. President of Global Sales and Marketing, I get this. But the last 12 years, if you ask me what's my proudest credential on there, it's actually the last one. Because at the end of the day, you can have an MBA. Oh, I've met many MBAs. Oh, I know you. I know you. You know everything about money, but you don't know how to make money. Because you were never taught that. I can talk about return on investment, total cost of ownership, marginal cost, all those wonderful things. The 5 M's of marketing, Michael Porter. You can talk about all those things, but most people simply don't know how to sell themselves. And that is the art. If you can sell yourself, you will always have a gig. You will always sell. I'll prove it to you. By the way, books I've written, I know, impressive. Yay, Vic. More books. Yay, Vic. Nicely done. Okay, let's move on. Okay, Monday morning sales workout, videos for managers. I got effective sales presentation video series there. How to sell, pricing strategies, sell more faster. My latest one, my proudest project, this is like 34 videos, is called Value-Centric Selling. It's how to position your value and not your price. When I sold, I typically would sell 30 to 40% over my competitor in terms of price, and I would still win the business. So please, don't tell me price. I got studies upon studies that will tell you it's not about price. It's about how you're positioning your product. Got it? Okay. Now, I've spoken at a lot of places, just like I met Del in, Del, where did we meet? It was a college market about 10 years ago. So I went to the college market, and so I've had the chance to travel all over the world, whether it's Asia. I think this year I did Dubai. I did, that was safe though, still safe. A place called Sharm el-Sheikh right outside of Egypt, gorgeous, one of the most gorgeous places I've been to. Been throughout Latin America. I think I hit almost every Latin American country. Anybody from Puerto Rico? I know I got a couple Puerto Rico in the house. Boricuas. Yeah. That's personal love right there. Right? And so I've been all over. So you can't tell me that this doesn't apply to you. Because the more you travel, the more you realize selling is selling. It does not matter. Value counts. And so, by the way, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, that was an interesting experience. Another time. So, okay? So I've worked with large companies. This is what I do. This is for Del Toro. Check this out, D. So this is a reality show we're filming actually next month. So in this one, we're working with small businesses, and I get to go in there and basically hack up their sales force. But not like that. I'm really nice. I'm just the nicest guy you'll ever meet. So we're going to do this. I'm really excited about this project, so that's another project. Real quick, I'm a salesman. You would be disappointed if I didn't try to sell you something. But Del Toro basically told me, Victor, you can't charge them corporate rates, right? So I'm being honest. I'm being direct. I'm not even flinching. I'm going to try to sell you something. If you like it, fine. Not, that's cool too. But I've cut my rates almost by 2/3 on this one just for you guys. Here it is. I don't like to say, I got material. I can sell you material. I got plenty of material to sell you. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. You don't need information. You've got enough. Just go on Amazon. You got more information than you need. What you need to learn is how to implement what you're trying to do. It's not information, it's implementation. So I don't typically do coaching sessions. This is really the first time I've ever said I'm going to do coaching for some folks. I'm going to limit this one only, again, to 20 people. That's it. So when you walk out the door, I got, Jenny and Kareem? So I got 20 contracts, that's it. And the reason I'm limiting it, because if I get too many people, I can't really what? Help you. How can I help you? I will rip up your presentation to the point where you will love it by the time I'm done with it. I will help you craft something that when you present it to people, you go, oh, you'll see the difference. Is that expensive? No, that's beyond cheap. Look, when I started out speaking, Del Toro knows the story. People wouldn't pay me anything. Like, who are you? Right? Don't you feel that way sometimes? But then what happens? Somebody figured out I was pretty good, so they paid me $250 for an hour. I say, wow, $250, I'll take that. Then what happens when you start making a lot of 250s? Jack it up to 500. Bang, they paid it. Moved it up to 1,500, and guess what? They paid it. I said, whoa, this is good. Moved it up to 2,500, guess what? They paid it. $5,000, they paid it. At this very moment, some of you are saying, I wouldn't pay it. I'm not talking to you. Today I priced out at $10,000 just for 45 minutes of this beautiful voice, and you guys get it for free. Thank you. Anyway, that's in the back. But let me show you some of the things I work with people, because at the end of the day, selling isn't hard if you understand it. The thing is, we've been drowned with so much information, we're confused in terms of how to sell. I wanted to point this out. I just threw this in there at the last minute. This came out. I want you to look at the date so you know that I'm not making this stuff up. Right here, that's July 21st. That's a month and a half ago. Bosses lament they can't find people to fill the sales jobs. They can't find salespeople. So don't tell me I can't find a job. Learn how to sell. So if you learn how to sell, you will always have a job. No company can exist without salespeople. And if you learn that skill, truly learn it. And I know some people go, I don't like selling. It's not about selling today. You've been watching Glengarry Glen Ross or The Boiler Room just too many times, right? Nobody wants to be sold like that. You know, studies have shown that between an introvert and an extrovert, there's something called an ambivert. I'm not making this up. And as people who have a little bit of both have the right mix. Today's selling has changed. It's more about sharing than actually selling, okay? And there's just some more data. I mean, they're looking for salespeople. Listen carefully to what I'm saying, because when I go into, about a month ago, I was back in Chicago. I spoke at a nonprofit. No, I didn't charge them. Did you charge them? No. And one of the things I told my minority friends in there, who were mostly what? Hispanic, African American, says, dude, learn how to sell. The cap on selling is almost non-existent. You don't want to know how much I made in a year. You don't. Because even we're talking, I was born and raised near the Cabrini Greenhouse. We're talking food stamps, government cheese, powdered milk. Clap if you feel my pain. Right? Been there, got that. But then one day, I discovered sales. And I got better at it. Did it happen overnight? No, and I'm going to show you why. Look, here's what customers want. The first thing they want is for you to listen to them, empathize. That's not hard, is it? Just listen to them. Understand what they really want. Now, there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. I heard this is not mine. I heard this a long time ago. Greatest definition of a difference. So you're standing on a deck of a boat, and you see a guy just stumbling over, and he starts throwing up over the banister. And you say, dang, that must hurt. That's sympathy. Now, if you went over there and threw up with him, that's empathy, okay? What I need you to start doing is throwing up with your customer. I can't, okay, you get the idea. All right, last but not, you need to educate. You need to give them information. You need to really educate them. Please, don't tell them stuff that's on the brochure. Don't tell them stuff that's on the website. Here's what clients want today. Listen to this word. This is for you, what we talked about yesterday. I said, what they want today is insight. The definition of insight, here's my definition. Came up with this just myself. It was an impressive moment. It was information beyond the obvious. Information beyond the obvious. What business people today need is clarity. Help them between choosing alternatives. That's what they need. We're in the risk mitigation business. If you can't provide that, you got problems. The last one, if you've educated them, I hear you, let me give you some interesting insight, then empower them to make a decision. Is it possible to guide a client to a conclusion you've already predetermined? Yes or no? Yeah. I'll prove it to you. Paper's out. Now, what I want you to do is cover what I'm about to tell you. Ready? I need you to write down a number between 2 and 10. Go ahead, write a number down between 2 and 10. Got it? All right. Take that number and multiply it by 9. You should have a new 2-digit number. You have one? If you have a single-digit number, leave the room. You're done, right? Now, take the 2 digits, add them together. You should have a new single-digit number, yes? Subtract 5 from that number. You should have a new single-digit number. Now, that number you now have represents a letter in the alphabet. If it's 1, A, 2, B, 3, C, 4, D, 5, E, write the letter down. Now, think of a European country that begins with that letter. Go ahead, write it down. European country that begins with that letter. Now, do me a favor. Look at the country name. Go to the second letter. Look at the second letter, and think of a large land mammal that begins with that letter. Go ahead, write it down. Write it down. Now, last thing. Write down the color of that land mammal. Got the color? Now, if I've done my job correctly, the following should make sense. If it makes sense, what I'm about to say, you stand up. Don't raise your hand. You stand up for this one. There are no gray elephants in Denmark. Show your love. Okay. Cool. All right. There. Now, it's a cheap parlor trick, but it emphasizes a point. That if I ask the right sequence of questions, I can have you arrive to a conclusion I've already determined. Listen carefully. The average salesperson practices what to say. The best salespeople practice what to ask, which is totally different philosophy. That's different philosophy. That's selling. Next reason. There's 5 reasons clients don't buy. Listen carefully. I got the acronym, Mount Nut, right? No money, no time, no need, no urgency, no trust. It's never about the money. Show them the value. It's not about the money. Show me that you can make money or help me make money, I'll make the time for you. So it's not the time. Need, sometimes they don't know they need something. So that's when you tell them what they need. But is need good enough? No. They have to what? Be urgent. Remember this? Archimedes, right? I know I need to do something, but guess what? I don't want to do it because it's not urgent. Joel's associates did an interesting study. Listen to this number. 78% of the buying population is either unhappy or dissatisfied with the product they have, but it's good enough. 78% is in the good enough mindset. So when you say I can't sell something, it's because you haven't created that sense of urgency. They know they need to change, but you haven't given them the compelling message. And if you can't do that in your presentation, you're not selling. You're not selling, you're presenting. There's a difference. There's selling and then there's presenting. Here's what we have. Check it out. Selling is consciously knowing what the outcome is going to be and then walking them through the paces. Last but not least, I was discussing this with my friend last night. 3 reasons you need to tie what people buy to. Why they buy is simple. Okay, everybody put the thumb up like this. Do this. Do this. Do this, like spread your fingers. This, like rock on. Yeah, got it? All right, remember this. Customers only care. I don't care if you work for a small company or a Fortune 500 company. They only care about 3 things. Increase my revenue, reduce my cost, or expand my market share. That's it. MBA in a box. That's it. It doesn't get any simpler than that. At the end of the day, no matter who you talk to, that's all they care about. Even if you sell personal products, doesn't matter. It's either physical, financial, or psychological. It doesn't matter. But if you can tie it, today when I see presentations and you don't tie it to that benefit, you're not going to sell. If you're not tying it to increase revenue, reduce my costs, or expand my market share, you're not going to sell. Everybody with me? Now imagine you use influence to build your presentation. You use discontent throughout your presentation to highlight, point things out, right? And you build throughout your presentation so when you come to the end, there's an obvious conclusion. There are no gray elephants in Denmark, and maybe you should buy my product. And now, if there's a little voice in your head saying, is that really possible? Yes. But you've never been taught that. You've been taught, ask the open-ended questions, then ask 3 closed-ended questions, try to get some commitment, advance the sale, blah, blah, blah. Right? And again, 50 years ago, love you, great strategy. Today, people have info, they're smarter, okay? Last but not least, here's some hard facts. I'm winding down. Hard facts. Relationship selling is not the answer today. Listen to what I said. It's not. Studies have shown it's not about the relationship. Now, this is not to say that you don't need to have a good relationship with your customer. But the relationship is a result of what you've already sold them. See, you get the idea? Because here's why. Very logical. This is not, esoteric ether stuff. It's very simple. Money's tight. Capital's tight. Budgets are tight. Back in the day, I can authorize a $50,000 purchase. Today, I need what? Other people to sign on. So now, you're selling me. I kind of get it, but now I have to turn around and what? Sell them. And it becomes that much harder when you're selling through people. And if you don't put your message in such a way that can be transmitted with efficiency, clarity, conciseness, as Delatoro pointed out, then there's a problem. Get to the point, right? Second fact, how you sell is more important than what you sell. This is why selling has changed, because it's now about how you sell. How do you present it? How do you position it? Is the glass half empty or half full? Well, it depends on what I show you first. It's how we position things throughout a presentation. I've taken people into a room, one of these war rooms, and I've ripped up their presentations. And by the time I'm done with it, they begin to see why they weren't selling. And they weren't selling not because they didn't have a great product, not because they weren't good at just presenting it. There was no momentum moving through it. It was flat at the end. I go, let me think about it. Right? You ever hear that? Let me think about it. And you're like, okay, when can I call you back? Are you kidding me? Okay. Remember the car example? When you walk onto the parking lot, on the car lot? That means that they're 67% into the buying process. For some of you, you've never even heard about the buying process because you're too busy focused on the sales process. That's what most people do. How do I sell? Well, step number 1, generate some lead. Step number 2, let me qualify. Step number 3, set up the intro meeting. Step number 4, let's do the first presentation. Step number 5, let's get a demo. That's the sales process. The buying process, where are they at? Where are they at in the buying process? How do they make a buying decision? Because if I know how you make a buying decision and I know where you're at in the buying decision, then I can either choose go or no go. I've qualified this one, this person's not going to buy. They're not there. They're not there in the buying process. Building an acquisition cost, oh, my favorite pet peeve. This is so powerful because it's the absurdity of it is so great that it just blows my mind. So let's say you have a manufacturing company. It can be a service company. Is it safe to say that you will invest at least several $100,000 in that facility or in that business, right? Beautiful, you've done that. And then what happens? Then you got manufacturing, you got general sales and administrative costs, right? Overhead, right? GSA, right? You got that. And then you got all the other costs associated with amortization, depreciation. You got all those wonderful things. You got the capital equipment, boom, everything's there. Let's say you spend about $500,000 on being conservative. And then here's what you do. You hand the slide deck to the salesperson, you go sell. This is fascinating to me because the buyer doesn't see what you have. The nice office, the great staff, the great technical support, the great capital equipment you have, doesn't see any of that. What do they see? The salesperson. That is the point of contact, and that's where we spend the least amount of money. Isn't that fascinating? It's almost like we're cutting ourselves off because we spend all this money trying to get the business going, but then when it comes to the point of contact where the rubber meets the road, we invest little. Happens too when you're building relationships. How about when we're trying to generate leads? Let's talk about client acquisition. If I were to ask you, what does it cost for you to acquire a client? Some of you go, don't know. But it's a lot of money and a lot of time. By acquiring a client is you got to do some marketing just to get some leads, right? Then qualify that lead, put it into the pipeline. That's a lot of money invested in marketing and people. But then what happens? You put them into the pipeline. Moves through your CRM system, right? And then all of a sudden you tell salespeople, go talk to this guy. Boom, there it is. Again, here we go. And when the guy comes back and says, didn't make the sale, marketing is like, what? It was such a great lead, right? Management is like, why didn't you sell it? Because you didn't give them the tools to sell it. You just gave them a slide deck that's really just a magnified version of a PowerPoint or a brochure, right? That's all you gave them. And when he got there and he delivered the information, what did the client say? Yeah, I knew that, yeah. Did you provide any insight? Zero. Did you help them clarify their thinking? Zero. We're moving from, listen carefully, relationship selling is on the decline. It'll always be there. Okay, it's almost like a minor in college. You'll have to take it. You're now seeing the rise of the industry experts. People who understand business, your business better than you, and can provide that insight. Last but not least, did you know that only 13% of us are natural-born salespeople? Sales Benchmark Index came out with this study. Based on certain attributes of behavior, they determined only 13% of us are natural born, which means that the other 87% have to what? Work on it. Trust me, I'm in the 87%. It may not look like it now, but there's been a lot of work just to get where? Here, to try to figure this out. And like you, I had to what? Crawl through the muck, the stuff that doesn't work. Most sales books that are released today love them, but the majority are just a rehash of what's been said for the last 20, 30 years. Now, are there gems, are there nuggets in these books? Of course there are. Should you continue to read? Of course you should. But at the same time, you got to look at the market and say, you got to take your nose out of the book, look up and say, are people really buying this way? And they're not. And that's why you're not making money. Now you're saying, Victor, does this apply to me? Look, let me go down to the entrepreneurial level. You spend all that time trying to get the person to go to lunch with you. And then when you get there, you do some niceties, and then you have no format or presentation how you're going to close that deal. You're gonna spray and pray. Show up and throw up. You know that whole bit? Right? That's all you're going to do. Right? I'll say something and maybe something will resonate and I'll just go after that. Isn't that what we do? Come on, let's be honest here, right? We do that a lot. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just trying to open our minds to why we can't sell. And if we're starting our own business, that's tough. If we're a small business, I don't know, 1 to 5 to 10 million, that's even a more critical stage to grow your business because now you only have 5 to 10 salespeople. Your resources are limited. You need to be better. But you're just going to give them the slide deck and go present. Go show them the product, see if they like it. They don't have a sales process, and if you don't have a sales process today, boom, dead in the water, you're guessing. Because even if you get a sale, you don't know why you got it. Listen carefully. If you got a sale today, you don't know why you got it. I said 78% of the population is in the what? What was that statement I said? They're in the I'm satisfied, good enough. Then there's the difference of that, and you'll find people who are ready to buy. You know when you're ready to buy? For example, we're buying landscaping. A month ago, I already made the decision. I was 67% into the buying process to buy landscaping. The guy shows up, he closes me, and he swears he's a great salesman. I was already sold before you walked in the door. That's called low-hanging fruit, right? Green fields, bluebirds we call them, right? Because they're like, ooh, there's a bluebird, thank you, right? But the majority of business isn't like that. We have to sell. Last one, sales process. I'm going to end on this note. Companies that use a sales process win 48% more business. Wow. Use 48, that's 50% more business. But here's some more interesting numbers. Their sales cycle is shorter. Their sales cycle is shorter. What does that mean to you? Listen carefully, because the math is involved here, but you got to get this. Assume that I can increase your sales speed by 25%. In other words, if it took you 4 weeks to close the deal, 4 weeks to close the deal, I can now reduce it to what? 3. Do you know what that means? That in 9 months, you'll have that many sales already, which means if I shorten it just by 25%, I give you 3 months extra to sell. Just by shortening the sales cycle. The amount of overhead you save, if you're into numbers, is incredible, okay? And again, if you train people to use the sales process, they'll generate twice the revenue. How's that for cool? Yeah. Did I get too heavy at the end with the detail? Well, Dell said, give them content. Don't fluff them. This is a smart crowd. You got content. This is the reality of sales. You want to be successful? There it is. Again, I can give you some great stories, but I don't think you want stories. I think you want to understand what's going on in the market, and the market has changed. And if you don't change your sales process, your sales approach, in the back. All right. Again, that's our client. I don't need to repeat it. That's my deal. Those are the books. All that stuff's going to be thrown in, by the way. So again, out to the back with Jenny Karim. Again, I'll throw in all that stuff. Just go back, sign up. And again, I'm a money-back guarantee type of guy. You don't like it, I'll give you money back. I don't want your money if I can't help you. Because I'm all about self-interest. I'm not about selfishness. On that note, I leave you and I say thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.